Happy Saturday, everybody. Welcome in. Um, you guys might have noticed that I wasn't streaming last weekend. I just had a lot of things to do and still wasn't feeling 100%. So I decided to not really sniffle in anyone's ears like I did the week before. But we are all good now. So it's Saturday. We did a bunch of PowerShell Universal the last few streams. So we can do some more. I do have like an up-to-date version, or we can find a new technology to really explore. So Jora says, need to learn for an ITIL exam now, but we'll watch the recap. Sounds good. Good luck on that exam. I'm sure you're gonna kill it. ITIL is extremely useful to learn for sure. So here we are on the screen here. All right. So let's explore some. I'm going to start up a notepad here. I'm going to write a bunch of different things that we can possibly learn. Right, so we can go Ansible route, we can go the Docker route. We can also do more PowerShell Universal. Go the Docker route. Trying to think of some other things, or just like more generic PowerShell. Right. So what I'm actually going to do is I do want to show you guys something cool that I did find out about PowerShell Universal the other day. So one of the bigger problems that we had in our PowerShell Universal the last time that we were streaming was the security portion. So I want to show you guys a comparison between versions, which I find is pretty cool that they actually made it functioning on the newer versions. So here we have a PowerShell Universal 4.2.9 on this machine here. And then we also have a PowerShell Universal over here, which is a version 3.10.3. So we have these two versions here. We have 3.10.3 and we have 4.2.9. Now, one of the main things that we did on the last stream was security. So if we go back on the version that we had last week and we go into our endpoints, and we have this test secured here. Now, the way that we actually had to do it was really by using a role. Let's just do role. And then if the role was administrator, yeah, so let's save this. Let's just make sure that my identity is actually created. So I'm an execute or reader. So let's go back up here into the test secured. So let's do execute here. Right, perfect. So if we did this and we copied this over And we pasted this in here, which I'm pretty sure it's just that. And we did our authentication as we've already learned how to do it. We would get do not have access to this endpoint. And that is because we go back here, here. I should put contains. And I believe it was roles actually. So let's just do that. Let's rerun this. Do not have access to the endpoint. Other virtual machine. Let's just get this working first. Probably that. Just go in here real quick. And so I might not have it properly cased here. So it is roles contains and then execute. Okay. Let's just go over here and let's just say we want to output our roles here real quick. Test this out again. Make sure this was working last week, so let's just go and look at edit properties. Authentication is activated. Perfect. Pretty sure we even had it in here somewhere. If roles. Let's just do it this way. Here. Cut this out and paste it in here. Now, if we do this, we run this, we should get do not have access to the endpoint. And then if we go ahead into our identities, change our user here to be an administrator, click on OK. And then if we run this, we still get does not have access to the endpoint for some reason here. Hey Mike, how's it going? So this should actually work for some reason. Not. Okay. Let's just do a write output roles. Very nice, very nice. I'm going to be playing a little bit later, probably right after this. I'm hoping to level up a few times and maybe play some harder difficulties today. Still don't get in here for some reason. Let me just restart this service here because it is acting a little strange, and I do believe that this is how we had it set up last time. So let me just restart this service here real quick. That seems to be the fix for PowerShell Universal when it's acting weird, so let's try that. Let's restart it here. And let's see what happens. We load into dashboard here. I do have to say that PowerShell Universal, when using 4, is the most up-to-date version, is definitely a lot nicer. We kind of struggled almost on accident on the live stream using this 3.10.3 version. It definitely seems just a lot more stable on the newer versions. So if roles contains administrator, we write output roles. See what happens here. Save. Yes, it seems like it's not even loading in any roles right now. So I'm sure even if I do this, the roles are coming in as blank here. Which is not what we would actually want. Here. Everything there looks good. Unless they pushed an update. And that they actually removed that functionality that we had found out the other day, which would make sense because you're not supposed to do the authentication that way. But it would be kind of a bummer a little bit. So let's put in the administrator here. And let's put OK. And then let's just test it out here. And we'll put test. Here we should. We get test, and then if we do this, we also get test, which that has the functionality that we expected. Even if we limit it to administrator, we get that. So now if we do identities and we edit the properties here. If we change it to execute, they might have actually fixed what we found last week. So let's just do that. So in theory, I don't have access to run that anymore. And we actually do get that it is forbidden. So they actually did fix it on the version 3 because we weren't able to get that to work the last time. No matter what we would put into the roles that were needed, anyone had access to it. So that actually makes a lot of sense. But it does not seem that we can pull the roles anymore. Which is a little bit unfortunate, but let's just try to see if we can get the roles variable back working here, but it might not be if roles contains. So let's just do a write output roles here. Let's hit save. Yeah, see, this always comes back out blank. But if we just do it here real quick, and we do a write output roles on this one, which is the 4.2.9 here, we get administrator. So it does work on the newer version still, but on the older version, it does seem like we're having some slight issues as the roles. Let me just try a lowercase and see if that works, but I don't think that that's going to make the difference because PowerShell is not case sensitive. Yeah, so in the 3 version, it does seem like you're not able to actually make that distinction anymore in the actual code. So let's go look at because we had at one point actually done some differences in our help desk tool. We actually had like if the roles contained administrator. Let's see what that looks like now. Our dashboard is not running. Let's just restart this dashboard. Dashboard request failed. Stop. Stop our dashboard. Please. You need that. Does seem like this one is not properly, so let's just stop this one and see if this will help. Let's just restart the services again on this one. Stop the services, then start them. Still just says starting here, and assuming, yeah, this dashboard is not running. And I wonder if it's not running because of that roles that we added here. Just take out this code here. And take out this code here. And we're going to hit save. We still get a fail with status code 500. Let's just see here. PowerShell Universal status code 500. So let's just see here if we change what is the dashboard version. Just run it on default for now. That worked. Let's go here. Okay, and we still have our little welcome, which has our secret that we've played with the other day. That maybe could have even been the issue in our API routes as well, maybe for the roles. So let's just see here if we could just put that back in. Let's just go back here and let's say if roles contains administrator. I'm going to open up the curly bracket here. All the way at the bottom. And then do an else. And we're just going to leave it blank for now. We're just going to see if this actually works. And all we're going to do is edit the properties here real quick. Change that. Click on OK. Deploying. We hit view. It works fine because I am an administrator. If I just go back into identities, make sure that the user is not. If I go in here, hit sign out, log into user, we don't get anything. So the roles does actually work. So let's go back into our routes here. Seems like this might have been a PowerShell issue actually. So let's just go in here. We're going to edit the properties. The environment. The environment, we already have it set as default. But let's just go ahead and let's set it to 7.2. That's where the error is actually. So PowerShell might have updated, so I'd probably have to, I would guess, redo my login potentially. Yeah, so it does not seem like it really wants to work with our environment being PowerShell 7. Let's just see here if we can do EWSH here. Does work. Okay. Seems odd. I probably would have to restart my computer. I don't really want to do right now because the stream would actually end here. But for now, let's go back into one of the cool things though that you can definitely take away is that in the new version of PowerShell Universal, which is what I really wanted to show, is that the actual securities do work, but it seems that they do work in the newer version of the 3.x because they do update both still. And that was one of the things that we were having issues with on the last stream was getting the authentication to work with the just like the regular securities here. So here we have our user and administrator here. So if we actually go into our endpoints and we have our secured endpoint here. We have it set up with the roles right now, which this will work. So if we actually log in and hit this, it will give us our computer info. And then if we actually just go ahead and go identities and change our user then to just be administrator, we click on OK. We go back in here, we run this, we get you do not have the rights to this endpoint, please contact your administrator, which is exactly what we would expect because on the secured, we specify if the roles is user, then do that. But what we can also do with these endpoints is actually edit the properties here. Come into role and say that we need to be a user because we have user in the code here. So for it to actually make sense, let's do that. And now if we actually go ahead and we run this code, we actually get the forbidden response. So the actual security authentication with the actual roles does work very, very well in version 4. And you can even add on top of that some tighter security with the actual roles inside of it, which is kind of neat as well. And then one of the things that we were able to do in the old version, which I'm not sure if we can do in PowerShell 7 or not, but let's not save this here. Let's create a new endpoint here. And let's call it secured 2. So we aren't actually modifying that one. And let's put the environment to PowerShell 7. Authentication is going to be, we're just going to put it back to user real quick. And all we're going to do is we are going to copy this and paste it in here. And instead of get the user info here, we're just going to do a write output. And we're going to say a user here. We actually save this. And let's go back to our code here. Let's execute the secured 2. So we do get the access is forbidden, which is accurate because we changed it to administrator here. So let's just change that back to user. Of course, normally your administrator would have access to everything and not your user, but we wanted to just make it so that you can easily see the differences here. So there it is. So one of the things that I noticed anyways in version 4 anyways, as of right now, when I try to display the actual like username. So kind of what we had in our dashboard here, how we can display the name. So if we go in dashboard here and we look at the code and we go in here, we were able to display this user here and have our secret. But that does not actually work in version 4. I haven't been able to find how to display the actual user info, which is kind of a bummer because I would really like to have that ability, because that would actually be pretty cool to be able to actually have that. But it does not seem to actually work. So if we go into, let's just say here, go back down here, here. If we look at version 4 here, 4, which is main. Wonder if we have anything for variables. I think that's just going to be like actual variables stored in so that's how you reference your secrets, which that's the same way as version 3. Okay, so in version 4, you can use roles, but only in the apps. And you can use user, but only in apps once again. Whereas in the API routes, it says we can use identity. So let's see if we can actually use identity here. And we can even look at claims principal. Let's look at those two, because those two might actually help us with our API here. Trusted pool. You really helped me level up my PowerShell skills. Got promoted at work. Keep up the great videos. That's awesome, Trusted. Good job on that promotion. Congratulations. I think you did all the work. I may have helped a little bit, but you definitely you did that all on your own for sure. But I'm very, very glad that you watched my videos. You're supporting the channel. I really can't help for any more than that. But great job on that promotion. All right, so let's go into our dashboard here in our secured 2. Let's just go here. All we're going to do is just do a write output. We're not even going to validate anything. We're just going to do a write output identity, and let's see what happens here. Because I'm not able to authenticate on that one, that's fine. All right, so identity actually, that doesn't really help because my username is also user. So let's go back here, edit properties. Let's change it to administrator has access to this. And let's just change our identities here, edit properties. We're going to change it to administrator. And now let's go here. Okay, so identity is your username in version 4. So it's not user anymore. And a way that you can actually confirm that, let's actually just confirm that as well. So if we're looking here in API, we have identity, and then in apps, we have user. But if we go version 3, version 3 might be a little bit different. API, oh no, it's still identity. So maybe I was just really used to using user because user we had only really used that in the dashboard. Um, and then roles is also here. But now let's look at claims principal. Because my thing is roles does actually work in the API routes as well on version 4. So that's the only thing, and that we've confirmed we've been able to actually see it. So if we do a write output here, claims principal, and let's do a write output roles here. So let's do a write output on all of those, and let's see what we get back. All right, so we have user, which that is our username. Here is our claims property. So our claims property is a little bit messy. It comes back as a JSON object, which I mean, it's perfectly fine. We can definitely work with that pretty easily. And then we have our roles, which comes back as administrator, which is awesome. That's what we want. So let's take a look at this claims principal a little bit more. So let's just do this. Let's return claims principal. Hit save there. And let's just run this entire code. So there's the claims and then our identity. So what we can actually do is save this as response. And let's explore our response object here. So once we actually look at our response, we will see that we do get things here. So if we look at claims, so here we can say, we can actually see that we can look at our role claim, and our role is administrator. There's our hash, and there's our name. So you can easily find everything that you really need to have there with the claims. So that's actually quite a useful. The claims principle could be very, very useful. Do you know if this supports SAML off with ADFS? I just got here and talking about claims, so build a nice view you can have. So I believe that it probably does, Kevin. The only thing is, with the authentication piece, I currently don't have a license, so I'm not licensed for the enterprise authentication. But if we go ahead and we just look really quickly at, we're just going to look at version 4 because that would probably be the version that you would use in like an actual environment. The authentication piece should be somewhere around here. So you can use SAML. Um, So I would assume that you would be able to probably use ADFS. It has Azure AD as an example to set it up with. Okta, Shibboleth. I would assume it does. Oh, yeah, there it is. So configuring ADFS for Universal. So you can do it with SAML or you can do it with ADFS as well. I would also assume um, that if you were making your own app inside PowerShell Universal, you could probably get it to work with ADFS as well if you wanted to do it that way. But I would probably just configure the authentication through PowerShell Universal to work with ADFS, and then you can just get your authentication to work that way. Where I'm at now, we do a lot of ADFS, and we're starting to use AWS Identity Center. I'm sure it probably works with AWS Identity Center as well, I would kind of think, because it's pretty similar to like Azure Active Directory in that case. It is like a cloud SAML provider. So I think you'd be fine. But yeah, you can actually fully configure this with ADFS, Azure AD, Shibboleth, or pretty much I would assume any real SAML provider or ADFS. So I would say that that would definitely work. Like I said, it just requires a license. So the way that we're doing it right now, we're doing everything through like the free edition. Um, so it's a little bit limiting on what we can actually do. Like we can't do any of these authentication piece because even SAML 2 requires a license. Um, but as I said, like even if you just use the free edition, you are losing some security, but you can still do authentication at the end of the day. It's just not going to be through your enterprise solution. Need to start toying with PS Universal. Yeah, PowerShell Universal is really, really, honestly, it's a lot. There's a lot to it. You can do a lot with it. You can, instead of using your task scheduler on Windows, you can use PowerShell Universal with the automation piece. You can put your scripts in here, create a bunch of different folders. You can create jobs as well and create schedules for your different stuff. You can also execute scripts based on system events that happen as well. And then terminals is where I would assume you can run code kind of like an ISE. But once again, that requires a license for it. But honestly, like there's a lot of possibilities with just the free edition. So even if you just wanted to toy around with it, I would toy around with the free edition. And then go from there because there's no point in paying for something if it doesn't quite fit your needs. And I think you'd be able to figure out if it fits your needs pretty well with the free edition because the main things that it adds with the paid version is really it adds more features. So if you can already do what you really want to do with the free edition, you're going to be able to do it with the paid edition, and you're going to have that additional security with the authentication, the enterprise authentication. So you would just benefit more from it. But if you just want to make sure that, you know, your APIs that you want to create will work, your automated scripts will work, or the dashboard idea that you have will work, I would do it all on the free edition, make sure that you can actually get it working, and then add in the security piece with the enterprise security and the enterprise authentication. That would be my way. But that is also just where I work, budgets are usually extremely tight for this type of thing, so you don't really want to learn. It's not super expensive, but it is still expensive at the end of the day. I'd really like to build some nice front end for my scripts so that I can have usually. Yeah, so the free edition completely allows that, Kevin. So let's actually look at. So if you weren't here these last couple weeks, we've actually completely built an app in PowerShell Universal. So let's just go, let's save this here. And let's log out and let's log in here. So let's log into the administrator account here. So when I log into the administrator account, we actually have access. You can ignore this. This was just me testing out to see if we could like do like a welcome, and then this is like a secret here that we're displaying. But that was just for fun. Welcome admin, that's just our username. And then this is the app that we created. So here we can actually search up like a test employee 3, hit search here, and this will actually, it uses the APIs that we designed in the backend, which interacts with Active Directory, of course, searches for that user. It pulls back all the user info. And right here, we can actually already, like, because the account is enabled, the enable account, we can't click on it. The account's already unlocked because it's not locked out, so we can't unlock it. But we can actually come here and disable the account or reset the password. So if we hit disable account, we will see here that enable changes to false and the enable button lights up, and we can still reset the password. So it actually just says like password for test employee 3 has been reset to this. And you can go ahead and give this to the user at the end as their new password. Of course, you need to enable the account for it to work. And it shows their group membership. And this was just something that we built pretty easily with like 3 live streams learning PowerShell Universal. So we had to kind of learn like the ins and outs of like designing the GUI and stuff. And there is a full tutorial series that's going to be coming out on my channel on PowerShell Universal. So there's already a couple videos that are out so far, which right now is just covering how to create the API routes. So we have how to create like basic API routes with a query string in it, and then API routes that take in a body, like a body payload. And then the first video for the GUIs, I just recorded that, so that'll be coming out pretty shortly as well. And then we're going to get into designing some more complicated GUIs. But also, if you want to kind of get that before everyone else does, all my live streams, right after the live stream is over, they go on my YouTube channel, so you can actually watch them. So you can actually watch me struggle through building this from the beginning. I think it's like 3 or 4 live streams. They're all under 2 hours. I like to keep them under 2 hours. Just this way it's not too much video to watch. Great stuff. I'll have to go back and watch that. Your stuff is great. I have a new guy on my team and recommended your videos. Perfect. That's awesome. Thank you, Kevin. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate when I hear people say that they've recommended my videos to people. We just hit 10,000 subscribers, which I honestly can't even believe that we're at. So thank you guys so much. But yeah, so you can really build some nice front end tools. And this, we designed it all through code. So we like typed it all out through PowerShell code. Like that's the way that we did it on the live stream. Because I found that the designer on version 3X wasn't great. The designer on 4X is honestly very, very good. If we actually just like create a new app here and just say, this is going to be test live stream here. If we go ahead and we build this here and we go edit properties, we're just going to remove authentication for now. We're going to put the environment as PowerShell 7 and click on OK. And let's go ahead, let's edit the details. So here you have your home page that you can modify. So if we go into the home page, you get this designer here. And then we have, you won't be able to see it, but like right behind me, basically, there's an add component button, which lets you add a bunch of different components, as if you were on like Visual Studio. So you can add forms, you can add like iframes, paragraphs, sliders, tables, text boxes, a time picker, typography. You can do an upload. So it's very, very easy to actually bring up. You can put buttons, check boxes, date picker, editor. So there's a bunch of different things that you can put in here, and do something very, very simple. So like here we have our typography, which automatically gets put there. So if we add a component here, we just add a button real quick. So we have our button right here. You can actually like just move it around. You can place it just as if you were on like Visual Studio. There is just the limit of it is like a grid based placing system. So that's just a little bit different than Visual Studio. And we can do our ID. So if we do BTN, click me here. And then the text, we can just say, click me, for example. All you need to do, and then you have this on click option here. So we could just do an on click option. And then if we want to change the text that's in this typography, the ID of this is home text. So all you need to do is click on this button right here, do the on click edit, and then do a set dash UD element. Specify the ID that you want to edit, which for us is home text. Do a properties, and this is going to be a hash table. So we're going to put our little hash table here, and you're just going to put text, or actually, I think it's actually content here. And then we're going to say hello world, just as a very simple example here. Hit save. And then if we just view the app here, there it is. So as you can already tell, we get right away, we get our hello world right off the bat. So it's super, super easy to really kind of manipulate. But if you don't want to do it through the designer, you can see the code that the designer actually puts in, but you can actually completely create pages through code as well, which that's just if you create a new page, you just select the use designer, you check that as off, and you can just code your entire page through code, which is what we did, which if I just come over here, I can show you what that looked like. If we just put this into full screen. So we have our grid that we can put our things like a nice little format. We have our form here for our search. As you can see, it's just executing our API commands. And we just have like a lot of things that set up our buttons and empty out our forms. And then we have just more of our controls here. So there was like a lot of code into building that app. It probably looks more complicated than it actually was. When you actually go back and look at those live streams, you're probably not going to find it that intimidating, if you find this intimidating at all. I don't think you should find this intimidating. It's definitely a lot easier than what it probably looks like. So I would definitely check those out, but be aware that on the new version of 4.x, um, honestly, the designer seems very, very useful. In the tutorial video, I will probably still do the whole design through PowerShell just because I think that it just gives you a little bit more control exactly on how you want things laid out. And that's how I prefer to do it. Just to go mobile friendly. I find it's a lot easier using this grid fashion. It just scales a lot nicer. Um, that's pretty much the major reason why. But that's pretty much it. Lawrence, morning, Jack. Would you say there were some things that allowed you to succeed in your career skills, or some things that you see are valued? Um, so, Lawrence, I think honestly, like the main thing for me was just wanting to try. So basically, I started in like more of like a help desk scenario. I did a lot of like tech support when I first started, but I was always into programming. I did go a little bit to school. I never actually graduated from school, but I was always really into programming. I started computer science. I did about 50% of the program. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to continue due to like financial reasons. Um, but still kept with the skills. Like it was always something that I was watching videos online, reading blogs, reading documentation on how to do things, and not only reading and not only watching videos, but like actually getting my hands dirty, opening up Visual Studio, building apps that I just thought would be cool to try to build. Like a point of sales is often what I like to use as like a really good app to try to build because it just covers so many different things. You can cover databases in there. You can cover a lot of like conditional statements, and a bunch of different things like keeping logs of receipts and stuff. So that's like a really good app. I would say honestly, just really always try to keep learning. I think that that is one of the main focuses, and that's what I try to do on this channel. I try to even like highlight learning things on the live stream. Like PowerShell Universal was not something that I had ever touched until the first live stream. So we were learning it together. I was learning it with you guys in chat. It's just not to be scared to learn. When you learn new things, you're probably not going to succeed the first time, and that's okay. I think that's something that you need to kind of value is learning by failing, which is what you guys can see on the live streams. Like sometimes I will do things for 20, 30 minutes, it just won't work. And then we find it in documentation. I could have probably went a lot faster, probably looked at the documentation first. But because you try to figure things out, I find like for me anyways, my way of learning is by like repetition and by doing. So I find like that's how I learn a lot, and I find like that's a really good skill to have. Um, Another really good skill to have, I would say, um, is really to be able to like know how to like isolate issues. I think that that is also a really, really good thing, to be able to like troubleshoot and eliminate that. Okay, it can't be this because we tested this and it worked. I find that that's often a skill that some people lack, and I find that it's a really great skill to have. It lets you just be able to dive down to see exactly where the problem is coming from. It gives you a better chance at solving it. But like I said, like really, I think like learning and being able to just build things is really, really good. I think Kevin even put in something. I've been working for IT for over 20 years. Finding good people is really difficult. If you want a good career, build useful tools and apps. If you can demo an app you wrote for an interview, that's huge. I completely agree. That's what really got me my job as a system administrator was when I worked for Help Desk. I built tools using PowerShell, using Visual Studio, C Sharp. I had just built a lot of tools, and that showed like the worth and the ability to do more than just help desk. So then I got promoted to the programmer, and then as the programmer role, I obviously built more tools, but then really started doing a lot of things for the system administrators, helping them automate things, which got me into my system administrator role. So I think just like being able to, again, like learn things that are not necessarily at your level, like always try to like level up and learn new things and be able to build things for them. I mean, automation and programming, I don't think is going to be going anywhere anytime soon. So if you could do something in 5 minutes without having to touch anything, whereas your coworker needs to manipulate a GUI for an hour or two to do the same thing, one, you'll be able to get a lot more done faster. And I think it's just going to really set you apart. So I think that's probably the best thing that I could say, Lawrence. I don't know if that fully answered your question. But honestly, I think that just there's not one skill that I think is more important than the other. I think it's more just your willingness to learn this skill, because every workplace uses different tools and different systems. Um, so I think it's just really, I think programming and automation are definitely going to be like key, like very like global things that are really good. And then learning to troubleshoot, but then also just always willing to learn and not afraid of failing. Then Erica says, I noticed the designer creates a lot of boiler template code to handle objects. I think that that is good for newer. But is there a way to toggle the verbosity in the designer? Um, I don't think so, Erica, but I think you're 100% right. I think that if you're not 100% super comfortable with typing out your code in order to design the page, I think the designer is great. And then you can look at the code view and really kind of like see, and even like when you add something, so let's just say we add another component here. Let's say we add table, let's say. So we add a table. We have all these different options. We have load rows on export. You have a bunch of different options that you can really use to be able to do something. And then you'd be able to go into the code view and really learn it that way. I think that that's a great way. The other thing to mention, and I think that PowerShell Universal does a really good job on, is their documentation. I would not be afraid. Some documentation is very hard to read at times. That I 100% agree with. PowerShell Universal, I actually find their documentation to be really good, actually. So here we can look at a table, and they will give you exactly the code that you need to design this table. And then with custom columns, custom column rendering. So they'll give you a bunch of different things. They give you a bunch of different examples on how to do a table. So I think that that is very good. But I would 100%, if you're just beginning and you're just a newer dev making maybe some simpler GUIs, do it with the designer, look at the code, see how the code matches with what you designed, and then maybe try to, since you already have technically the answer key, is try to design what you designed through the designer GUI, design it through code, and see if you can make it maybe look a little bit more how you would want it to look. or if you can like replicate it, I think that that would be very, very good. Um, because I think like that's really what it comes down to is really, really practice, practice, practice. Um, I think that if you can build it in the designer, honestly, like that's really, really good. Um, I mean, that's how I would design simpler GUIs. Once you get into more complicated GUIs, like the one that we designed on the live stream, I don't know how well the designer would actually work. It would definitely be doable, but I think it might add complexity just because when you're editing the on click, so as an example, is like if I'm editing the code for the table here on the on row selection, I'm not seeing any of the other code around it. So that's where it gets a little bit tricky. You'd have to put the code in your on row selection and then come to your code view to see how it kind of lines up because you might be referencing um, other bits and parts throughout your code. And if you can't see it, I know that oftentimes I really like to scroll around and like see what the other parts are doing. That's the only place where I think the designer is a little bit lacking is being able to really show you everything at once. It would be nice if this code view wasn't read only. So this code view is only read only. You cannot edit the code if you're doing it in Designer. If you're doing it in Designer, you can only use the Designer. If you use code, you can only use code. That is the only downside. Um, but I think if you're just trying to learn, the Designer is great. It's I would just use that, especially if you have some very simple GUIs that you want to build for people. 100%. So I hope that answers your question, but there's no real like super verbose in the designer. It's a little clunky, but it's also very good. Um, it just depends on how complicated you want to get in your GUI design. No problem. Yeah, I think I really enjoyed PowerShell. So at the beginning, I knew that there wasn't a lot of people, but I'm trying to find other technologies that we can do on the live stream that won't be for today. Um, but here are some of the things that I've thought of. Now, you guys that are here, you guys can suggest more things to add to this list, or if you guys want to put in a vote for one of these, I'll just add like a little dash or something. Uh, and whichever one has the most dashes will be the one that wins. And that's basically what we'll be looking at in the next live stream from scratch. So whatever we pick, I actually won't really do any reading on it till the next live stream, which won't be next weekend. Next weekend, I'm away. I apologize. That's like 2 weekends almost in a row. But I have another competition that I have to handle some athletes at. So I won't be here for the live stream. But after that, I don't really foresee being away for very many more. So the next live stream would be the 9th. And then all of March, there will be live streams every single Saturday. For sure. after the third, the second. The second is the only one that I'm going to miss. The 9th, the 16th, the 23rd, and the 30th will all be live streams, and we can pick any technology from this list, or if you guys have a different one that you guys would like me to look at, we can do that as well. Also, I just thought of another one, Windows Server 2025 preview. Erica, write an iText PDF wrapper to handle making and editing PDFs would be pretty awesome. All right. iText PDF wrapper, and I'm assuming that would be using PowerShell, Erica, as well, or yeah, okay, perfect. So let's do just a little PowerShell on the side here. So that one already has one vote because that was the suggestion from Erica. Erica, you can feel free to pick any of these other ones as well. I'll just add a tick. Your other tick will stay there for sure. I actually really like this idea. I think that that could actually be very, very neat. I've done a little bit of PDFs in the past, but not a whole lot. And to be honest, I don't really remember what I used in the past. So it would definitely be pretty new to me again. Um, you can get the NPM package. I can help if you get stuck. Okay, perfect. So let me just add that in here. Okay, perfect. Actually, that sounds honestly pretty fun. Let's just take a quick look, take a quick little gander at iText here. If anyone else wants to put in some other suggestions, though, feel free. So I'm assuming that we use the iText core. It says to use iText 8, but I don't see. Oh, iText core version 8. Okay, perfect. Okay, perfect. Yeah, I think that this could definitely be something that that we can easily do. Well, maybe not easily, but we can easily do this on the stream next week for sure. So this is the Java code, and then C# code is this. Yeah, like I said, I think that I might have a little bit of this on my channel. Give me one sec. For some reason, iText does sound very, very familiar, so we might have a little bit of a base to work with. Give me one second. I'm just gonna go quickly looking to see if I can um, find the video here. Okay, so we did at one point use. I'm just gonna paste it in chat here. So that was the video that I had made one time, which was just how to read PDF files. And that was using iText Sharp, which I'm assuming is going to be very, very similar to I mean, it's still iText. It was just a much older version of iText that I was using. Yeah, it's no longer supported. I think it was no longer supported actually shortly after I released the video. Unfortunately. So I think if we have a base and we have this new version, I think it'll be really, really cool. I think that will be what we work on next. I just have to figure out how to text core. Um, okay, so I'm assuming you just have to download the 30-day free trial, I'm assuming. Unless you have the place where we can get the open source version, because it does say that it's open source. So if there is, text 8 download here. Okay, so itext.net, which is right here. Previously known as iText Sharp. Okay, perfect. So this seems to be what we need to have. Awesome. All right, so Erica, that's what we're going to be doing on. We're going to start that on the 9th on the live stream. And then perfect. That should be pretty good to go at that point. Perfect. So we have the install docs all over here. Perfect. So we don't need to do the free trial. We can just download this. Yeah, that's what I would probably end up doing for sure. That's what we had done on this, like reading the PDF file. That's what I had done. There's a lot of Selenium does that as well, whereas like, which is nice because C Sharp and PowerShell is usually pretty hand in hand, goes well together. Um, so yeah, so we're gonna do that. We're gonna install the iText and we're gonna create a bunch of different functions in PowerShell and code that to be able to read or edit or create some PDFs. I think that that will be a very, very fun little project that'll probably last us a couple weeks on the live stream. And we can all learn something from that as well. And I think that honestly, generating PDFs through code is something that a lot of people can probably benefit from as well. So that is what we are going to do. We're just going to put these at the bottom here. And that is what we're going to be working on next week. Not next week, but the week after. And I think I'm going to call it there for a live stream today. It's been almost an hour and a half now. Like I said, I like to kind of keep these decently short. I don't like to do them too long. This way it's very easy for people to look back and watch what they've missed. If you guys have any comments or questions, like please let me know before we end the stream. I could definitely answer some last minute questions here. I do thank every single one of you. I think there's like 10 people right now watching. So I thank every single one of you guys for tuning into these live streams. I really enjoy doing these live streams, interacting with you guys. And especially most recently, we just hit 10,000 subscribers. So I really want to thank every single one of you guys. I'll be making a video to just thank everybody on this journey that I've done so far. I didn't think that I was ever going to get to this point where we're doing live streams and have 10,000 subscribers. So it's still very, very unreal to me. So thank every single one of you guys. I'm going to go have some lunch now and get ready for my day. I hope you guys have a very wonderful day. Every single person that stops in the chat, thank you guys. I really hope you guys can watch more of my videos and hopefully you guys learn some more. Hopefully you guys can teach me some stuff in the chat. You guys already have. Seems like Erica is going to be able to help us some in 2 weeks with the iText PDF, and we can all learn to create and edit PDFs. Maybe that'll be a great reporting system that we can maybe build at the end. Who really knows what we're going to be able to do? But I am looking forward to that for sure. So once again, thank you guys for tuning in. I hope you guys have a wonderful Saturday and a wonderful weekend. There's going to be a video coming out on Monday, so be sure to turn your notifications on for that. And I will see you guys on the next live stream and on the next video. Thank you guys. Have yourselves a wonderful weekend.